Greetings, gamer guys and gals. I'm One, and welcome to another episode of Standard Brews. Today we are looking at an Is It Fevered Visions control/tempo deck. This is a home brew. This is not something that I have copied off the internet or anything. Me and a couple of my viewers and friends have kind of put our brain power into making this list, maybe competitive or just for a fun deck. But either way, I've been having a lot of success with it, and I figured I want to share it with you guys for you to maybe be able to try out and modify and see what you like. So let's get into the main board. We'll go over the land base first really quick. We run 3 Evolving Wilds. We only have 2 colors in this deck, but being able to shuffle your deck late game does have some value if you just keep drawing land after land after land. Being able to shuffle your deck away and possibly draw into something else does have its value. We run 10 islands in the main board, 3 mountains. We run 3 Shivan Reef and 4 Wandering Fumaroles as just another alternate win condition. You can sometimes take a turn off and hit your opponent for 4. If they don't have anything and they're not pressuring you, you can take a turn off and hit them for 4. And this kind of, again, just pushes you ahead on tempo at times when the board's clear and your opponent doesn't have anything to really deal with it. This is a Fevered Visions deck. This is your main win condition, if you will. There's a few in the deck, but this is what you're trying to do. Control the board, control what they're doing, get some Fevered Visions going, maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3, and eventually this just burns your opponent out pretty quickly too. A lot of people I play with don't expect how much damage this thing can do. They're like, oh yeah, I'm getting free cards, this is really good for me. They realize they're just taking like 2 damage every single turn. Eventually they're down to 8 life all of a sudden, and they're in panic mode. So this card's just really cool. I really like this card. I covered it in my last video why I like this card so much. It's exactly how I like to play. So another alternate win condition is the Thermal Alchemist. You can run the Thing in the Ice if you so choose to. I see some lists with Fevered Visions doing the Thing in the Ice. It's more burn-centered, not so much counter, but again, this is just how I like to play. Thermal Alchemist, you know, everyone's seen this thing. Just being able to deal 1 damage to your opponent, eventually 2, and having multiple on the board is just a hoot, I'll tell you that. Yeah, this guy's awesome. He's a bait for removal spell. You know, it forces your opponent to get rid of him, and if they don't, you can really do some damage with him. So I really like how this guy plays. He fits my playstyle. And another alternate win condition, more of a finisher, is Chandra. No surprise there. She's just a beating. Being able to hit your opponent for 6, filter through your hand, or burn the board out is pretty relevant right now. And she's been, you know, very, very effective in this deck for me. We're going to go over the counter package. We're running 2 Clash of Wills, 4 Horribly Awry, 2 Negate, 2 Void Shatters, and 2 Summary Dismissal. Horribly Awry, again, I covered in the last video, is very, very prevalent right now. A lot of things are converted mana cost 4 or less. Also, being able to exile it instead of putting it into their graveyard is super awesome against like the green-black Delirium decks and the Teamer Emerge decks that I am seeing a ton of because the Pro Tour is now over. 2 Negates, no surprise, being able to counter your opponent's Planeswalkers, Dromoka's commands, you know, opposing Fevered Visions or Sphinx's Tutelage, you know, just good spell. I mean, it's really good. I was experimenting with how many I wanted, but I've kind of come to the conclusion that 2 is where I want to be personally. 2 Void Shatters, no surprise, just a good counter spell, and being able to exile instead of putting in your graveyard, again, is very, very relevant. The new Summary Dismissal is just super funny to play against the all-in Emrakul decks or the, you know, the Teamer Emerge, Elder Deep Fiend tempo decks. Just being able to see your opponent, you know, sack a creature away, spend all their mana, and then being able to counter their Elder Deep Fiend and not have your stuff tap is just so satisfying. Also, being able to counter the all-in Emrakul decks, like the green-black Delirium decks and stuff, that just try to win off the back of Emrakul. Being able to exile it and exile his Mindslaver effect has led to some opponents of mine just conceding right on the spot. So this card is just, it's just a beating. It's so fun. I might try 3 in the main board and cut one of the other cards if this card time and time and again is more and more relevant as the season goes on, seeing how many Temur merge decks or all-in Emrakul decks are running around. I may increase the count of this. Card draw, just 4 anticipates, and you can count Collective Defiance as a card draw if you need to, but a lot of the times I don't count it as card draw, but you can if you really need to at a pinch. I think Anticipate's awesome, just being able to dig through your deck at 3 at a time, being able to get the exact card you need, and then getting rid of cards that you don't need is very valuable. Fevered Visions, again, this is the main card engine of the deck. It's super, super, super effective. For the burn, we are running 4 Fiery Impulse. I may try the new Galvanic Bombardment in here instead because mana for mana, eventually it does outweigh Fire Impulse, but I've played with this card more, so I'm more familiar with it, so we're trying it out. For Incendiary Flow, you know, this is just a good burn card overall. Being able to hit your opponent for 5 with it if you have a Thermal Alchemist on the field does put them on quite a fast clock, and being able to hit their early creatures and their planeswalkers with it does prove its value, believe me. Collective Defiance, this card's just awesome. Being able to burn your creatures out, burn your opponent, be able to make them discard, put them off their game plan if you think they're trying to set something up. Or again, like I said, just discard your hand if you're getting flooded, and getting all these cards back can kind of put you back in the game if you just keep drawing land after land. One cool thing that I've learned to love about Fevered Visions is the fact that you can redirect the damage of Fevered Visions onto Planeswalkers. So if you're playing against a really heavy Planeswalker deck and you happen to have 1 or 2 of these out, you can keep multiple Planeswalkers down from their ultimates and sometimes their second abilities and eventually kill their Planeswalkers. So if someone's going really heavy into like the Super Friends type list, being able to redirect the damage to the Planeswalkers and eventually kill them is just funny. This card does a lot of work. So that is the main board. We're going to look at the sideboard. We're running 1 Sphinx of the Final Word. With how much targeted removal spells going around in Standard right now, being able to have a 5/5 hexproof in the air does provide quite a fast clock, and also, you know, having your instants and sorceries not be able to get countered is pretty good. It doesn't save you from like Spell Queller because they exile the card, so it's a little bit different. But again, just having 1 in the sideboard against very heavy single target removal decks can prove very valuable. 2 Niblis of Frost. This card is just really good against lots of heavy creature-based like ground strategies, or even like a little bit of Spirits deck like the blue-white flyers and stuff like that. Being able to have a 3/3 in the air that just gets bigger the more you put into it, and being able to tap their creatures down is pretty good. There's been a couple games where I, you know, put him on the field, he doesn't get removed right away, and then I cast 3 spells, you know, and he goes up to a 6/6, and I tap down 3 of their creatures that don't untap. It just swings tempo so hard. So this card's really good. I had him originally in the main board when I was drafting up this deck, but I think he's more of a sideboard card to me. 3 Engulf the Shores. We're running 3 because we have 10 islands in the main board, so you can return basically everything in Standard right now at instant speed to their hand, you know, shy of an Emrakul. But, you know, for a lot of the times I have 4, 5, 6 islands on the field, and being able to, you know, have your opponent play 3 things or whatever, and at the end of their turn, you know, just bounce it, it forces them to basically take another turn doing the exact same thing they did last turn, and puts you ahead on tempo pretty heavily. 2 Scatter to the Winds for more counter. Having the Awaken is pretty good as just kind of like a beater. If you have nothing on the field, you know, being able to Awaken and chip your opponent away for 3, along with your Wandering Fumaroles, can provide some pretty fast clocks if you so need to. 2 Nahiri's Wrath as just a catch-all. There's been lots of times where I've cleared boards, killed a couple Planeswalkers, killed 2 creatures and a Planeswalker. Since you have so much repetitive spells, you have a lot of redundancy, you have a lot of 4-ofs. Being able to pitch 1 or 2 copies of, you know, a Collective Defiance or a Horribly Awry, and then being able to kill 4 or 5 things doesn't really put you too far back, and combined with Fevered Visions, you're basically going to redraw the cards that you've spent putting into this, so it's a great way to really swing tempo back in your favor and being able to clear boards, kill a bunch of Planeswalkers. This card's just great combined with Fevered Visions. We're running 2 Roast. This card's just great for ground-based creature strategies, which is there's a lot of right now. The 5 damage is pretty relevant. It does kill the Sylvan Advocate, unlike a lot of other burn and removal in Standard right now. And for 2 mana, it's pretty good. It's another sorcery. I'm only running 2 of because I don't want to go too heavy into trying to beat one deck. I want to have just more of a flexible sideboard. I'm running 1 Displacement Wave. I like this card because you can return Planeswalkers to your opponent's hand if like you really need to. If they just have too many on the field and they're generating way too much tempo. You know, you can return Planeswalkers to their hand, and if their hand's full, it does return stuff to their hand, so Fevered Visions can hit them, and they might have to discard a couple cards. So this has some synergy with the deck. It doesn't kill the Planeswalkers that you remove, which is what you would want, but being able to remove it does put your opponent back on tempo just a little bit. 1 Disperse for any mirror matches, again, with the Fevered Visions in the deck. You can bounce, you know, a Planeswalker or a Sphinx's Tutelage or like a, you know, a Sigil of the Empty Throne if you're running against like an enchantment deck or something. You can just bounce it and bring it back. So I'm just running the 1 of as just kind of like a catch-all if I really need to. You can put an Unsubstantiate in here, but I like being able to return something as in a Planeswalker versus just being able to return it to their hand as they cast it. Fall of the Titans as just a 1 of in the sideboard. This card's just more of just like a value late game mana sink win condition. This card can do a lot of work. You have a lot of cheap spells like Fiery Impulses and Anticipates and Incendiary Flow, so you can trigger the Surge on this pretty easily. And just being able to dump your mana into it late game does provide you with an alternate win condition if you need a sideboard in, and then you can you can kill 2 creatures really if you need to. So as far as the deck, that is the deck. I'm going to be playing some games with this today, so look out for those videos. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit the like button down there. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this deck. You can come by my Twitch. There'll be a link in the description down below that you can come by, ask me questions. You can watch me play this deck live, see how you like it, and maybe try it out for yourself. So as far as the video, that's going to be it, guys. I'm One Less One. Thanks for watching.